The Young and the Restless spoilers next week. Full August 11th to August 15th 2025. The day had started like any other in Genoa City, but for Kane Ashby, it was about to take an unexpected turn. After a long week of navigating the complexities of his business dealings, Kane found himself with an unexpected visitor aboard his American train, the very symbol of his latest venture. As the sound of footsteps echoed down the narrow passage, Kane's thoughts were interrupted. He looked up, his brow furrowing in confusion as a familiar face stepped into the cabin. It was Jack Abbott. "What are you doing here, Jack?" Kane asked, his voice flat but tinged with curiosity. Jack smiled slightly, but it didn't reach his eyes. "I could ask you the same thing, Kane. But I'm guessing this is your latest scheme." Jack's tone was laced with suspicion. He had come to check on his brother, and while he had his own suspicions, he knew he needed more information before acting. Kane leaned back in his seat, his fingers drumming rhythmically against the table. "Nothing too exciting, Jack. Just expanding a little bit, doing what needs to be done. But I'm guessing you're here for more than a casual visit." Jack didn't waste time with pleasantries. "Billy told me something this morning. Something about you going after Jabot. I need to know if this is true, Kane. If it is, we need to talk." Kane's eyes flickered with surprise, but his composure never wavered. "Billy's got a big mouth," Kane said, a thin smile playing at his lips. "But yes, Jabot is part of the plan. You can't make real moves without targeting the big players. And Jabot? It's as big as they come." Jack's mind was reeling, but his voice was steady. "Why now, Kane? Why target the Abbott's company? You've got your own things to focus on. I don't understand why you're doing this." Kane's eyes grew colder, and his voice dropped to a whisper. "I'm doing this because it's necessary, Jack. The Abbotts are in the way, and they always have been. If you're asking whether I'll go to war for it, the answer is yes. But I'm not doing it alone." Jack paused. "Alone?" He understood the weight of Kane's words. What he didn't understand was why his brother had come to him. "What are you asking, Kane?" Jack's tone was cautious, knowing full well that his brother never did anything without a plan. "I'm asking you to get involved," Kane said. "You'll see the bigger picture soon enough. But right now, I need someone on the inside. I need you to speak to Billy, convince him to play along. We'll take Jabot down from the inside. We work together, or we fall apart." Jack stood still for a moment, processing the gravity of what Kane was suggesting. He could feel the danger in his brother's words. "You're asking me to betray my family for you. Is that what this is?" Kane didn't flinch. "It's not betrayal, Jack. It's just business. Family has its place, but sometimes business has to come first." Jack's chest tightened. He had always put family first, but Kane had a way of making even betrayal sound like logic. After a long moment, Jack spoke. "I'll talk to Billy. But if this goes sideways, don't come crying to me." Back at the Abbott home, Jack updated Diane Jenkins on his conversation with Billy. His mind was still processing what he had just learned from his brother, and he wasn't sure how to move forward. He couldn't ignore the unsettling feeling that came with the decision he was about to make. "Diane, you're not going to believe this," Jack said, his voice tense as he sat across from her. "Kane and Jill have teamed up to take back Chancellor Industries. And now, they're going after Jabot." Diane looked at him with concern, her brow furrowing. "That's bold. But how does Billy fit into all of this?" Jack's gaze grew darker. "That's the problem. Kane wants Billy to play along, to help bring Jabot down from the inside. I don't know if I can trust Billy with this. But what choice do I have? If we don't do something, Kane will have everything he wants." Diane placed a hand on Jack's. "You can't just walk into this without knowing what's at stake. Trust is a fragile thing, especially when it comes to family. Jack sighed, rubbing his temples. The worst part is, it's not just about business. It's about everything I've built. Everything my family has worked for. Kane is tearing this apart from the inside. Diane's voice softened. What do you want to do, Jack? Jack's eyes hardened with determination. I'll speak to Billy. But this deal, it's risky. We're putting everything on the line. And maybe it's time for us to put more trust in Billy than we ever have before. Elsewhere in Genoa City, Lily Winters sat in her office, contemplating Victor's advice. It had been a long few weeks of uncertainty, but now, she was at a crossroads. Victor had been clear: if she wanted to move forward, if she wanted to regain control of her future, she needed to take action. Lily had always prided herself on making her own decisions, but Victor had made a compelling case for why she needed to go to Kane. She had to see for herself if there was still a chance for them, if there was still something worth saving in their relationship. She couldn't ignore the nagging feeling that there was something more beneath the surface of Kane's actions. But if she didn't take this step, she would always wonder. She grabbed her coat and headed out the door, determined to find the answers she needed. When Lily entered Kane's train cabin, she was met with a mixture of tension and familiarity. Kane looked up from where he was sitting, his gaze softening when he saw her. "All aboard, Lily," Kane said, his voice low but welcoming. "It's been a long time. I didn't expect you to come, but I'm glad you did." Lily hesitated for a moment before stepping closer. She had come to confront him, to figure out where they stood, but she also knew that this meeting would change everything. "You've been making a lot of moves lately, Kane," Lily said, her voice steady but filled with uncertainty. "I need to know what you're really after." Kane stood up, his expression unreadable. "I'm after the truth, Lily. I've always been after the truth. And if you're asking whether I've made mistakes, then yes, I have. But I'm not giving up on this. Not yet." Lily's eyes flickered with doubt, but she couldn't deny the connection she still felt for him. "Then show me that you haven't completely lost your way." Meanwhile, Daniel Romalotti was enjoying a rare moment of peace as he spent time with his father at the park. The cool breeze ruffled his hair as he watched his father with a calm expression. It had been a while since he had had time to reflect, and this moment with Danny was just what he needed. As they sat on the park bench, Daniel leaned in closer, his voice quieter than usual. "You know, Dad, Tessa and I, well, we've been spending a lot more time together lately. I think I might be developing feelings for her." Danny raised an eyebrow, his expression thoughtful. "Tessa? That's interesting. You've always had a connection with her, but this feels different, huh?" Daniel nodded. "Yeah. I'm starting to feel like it's something more than just friendship. I'm not sure what she feels, though." Danny smiled knowingly. "Well, you won't know until you talk to her. But if you care about her, you've got to take that step. Don't let it slip away." Daniel's eyes glimmered with uncertainty, but his heart felt lighter. "I'm going to do it, Dad. I'm going to talk to her. I think she's starting to mean more to me than I realized." As the relationships in Genoa City shifted, secrets unraveled, and power struggles continued to build, the characters found themselves at pivotal moments. Jack, Lily, Daniel, and Kane were all on the brink of life-changing decisions. What would they each choose? And how would those choices reverberate across the city, changing everything they had known? In Genoa City, nothing was ever simple. The fight for control, love, and loyalty was only just beginning. This expanded narrative dives deeper into the emotional and relational dynamics of the characters, exploring the stakes of their decisions and the tension between them. If you want to explore more twists or further details, feel free to let me know. Jack Abbott sat behind his desk, the weight of the meeting with Billy still heavy in his mind. He had hoped for clarity, but instead, he was left with more questions than answers. The conversation had been intense, Billy's warnings about Kane's growing ambitions unsettling. Kane was a force to be reckoned with, and if Jack didn't act fast, he might very well lose everything he had worked for. Billy had made his position clear: Kane was targeting Jabot, and he needed to be stopped from the inside. But the idea of using Billy as an informant, to have him infiltrate Kane's operation and ultimately undermine him, was a risky gamble. Jack trusted Billy, but was Billy truly up for the task? Could he be trusted to stay loyal to the Abbott family when the stakes were this high? Jack leaned back in his chair, rubbing his temples as the questions swirled in his mind. He had always been the pragmatic one, the one who played it safe, but this situation was different. If he didn't play his cards right, the Abbotts could lose not just Jabot, but their entire future. At home, Diane Jenkins sat at the kitchen table, a cup of tea in front of her, but she wasn't drinking it. She watched Jack pace back and forth, his frustration evident in every step. She knew he had been troubled after the meeting with Billy, and now, she could sense the tension that was thickening between them. "Jack, what's going on?" Diane asked softly, unable to hide the concern in her voice. Jack stopped pacing, turning to face her, his eyes heavy with the burden of the decisions he had to make. "It's Kane. He's moving fast, Diane. Billy says Kane is gunning for Jabot, and we need to stop him. Billy's agreed to work with us, he'll go undercover, get information from Kane's inner circle. But I'm not sure if I can trust him to follow through. The stakes are too high." Diane's heart sank as she listened to Jack's words. She knew how much the business meant to him, to their family. "And Billy?" she asked, her voice tinged with uncertainty. "Do you really think he can pull this off? After everything that's happened? I don't know if we can count on him." Jack ran a hand through his hair, his gaze distant. "Billy's always been unpredictable. He's got the drive, but can we really rely on him to stay focused? He's got his own demons, Diane. His loyalties can shift, and he's not always the most reliable. But right now, he's the only shot we've got. If we want to protect Jabot, we need him to work with us." Diane sighed, her concern deepening. "I just don't know, Jack. Billy's heart's in the right place, but you're right. He's got a tendency to get distracted when things get tough. If he gets pulled in by Kane's charm, or if his emotions get the better of him, we could lose everything." Jack looked at her, a solemn expression crossing his face. "I'm counting on him, Diane. But I don't know if we can trust him completely. I'll have to keep a close eye on him, make sure he stays on track. We can't afford to make any mistakes." Across town, Billy Abbott was pacing in his own space, his mind racing. The meeting with Jack had left him unsettled, but it was the conversation with Kane that kept him up at night. Kane's ambitions were growing, and Billy knew it was only a matter of time before Kane made his next move. Kane had always been a threat, but now, he was dangerously close to taking control of Jabot. And if Billy didn't act fast, everything would be lost. Billy knew that the only way to stop Kane was to infiltrate his operation from within. He needed to convince Kane that he was loyal, that he was one of the team, so that he could gather the intel Jack needed to take him down. But how could Billy convince Kane that he was trustworthy when he was still questioning his own loyalty? He picked up his phone, dialing Kane's number. His voice was steady when Kane answered, but his mind was racing. "It's Billy," he said. "We need to talk." Later that evening, Billy met Kane in a secluded corner of Genoa City, where their conversation was more personal than business. Billy knew that Kane had been working on bigger plans, but this was different. Billy wasn't just another player in Kane's game anymore. He was a man caught between loyalty to his family and loyalty to the business world. And right now, Kane was the biggest obstacle standing in his way. "So, what's the deal?" Kane asked, his voice low, eyes narrowing as he studied Billy. Billy took a deep breath, his mind racing as he prepared to play his cards. "I'm in. I'll help you with the Jabot thing. I'll tell Jack I'm on board. But you need to understand this, I'm not doing it for you. I'm doing it for us. I need to make sure we win, and I need to make sure we both stay on top. Kane's eyes lit up with interest, but there was a hint of caution in his expression. You're telling me you're going to work with me, but you're going to report back to Jack? Is that the plan, Billy? Billy nodded, his resolve hardening. That's the plan. We need to take Jabbo down from the inside. I'll report everything back to Jack. But this isn't just about the company, Kane. It's about protecting the future of the family. You may not get it, but I'm doing this for more than just the money. I'm doing this for the Abbotts. Kane's smile was slow, calculating. Fine. But remember, Billy, you're either in or you're out. There's no room for halfway. If you're going to play, you play by my rules. Billy hesitated, then nodded. I'm in. Just remember, I'm watching you. Every move. Back at home, Diane couldn't help but feel uneasy as she listened to Jack's updates. His concerns mirrored her own. Billy was an unpredictable element in a carefully calculated game, and they couldn't afford to trust him completely. I'm worried, Jack, Diane confessed. Billy's loyalty is always in question, and now we're asking him to put it all on the line for Jabbo. What if he lets us down? Jack placed a hand on her shoulder, his gaze filled with a mixture of determination and doubt. We don't have a choice, Diane. Billy's the only one who can do this. If we want to protect everything we've built, we have to trust him even if it's just for a moment. The plot was thickening, and each move was more dangerous than the last. Billy had agreed to work with Kane, but the real question was whether he could walk the fine line between loyalty to his family and loyalty to his own ambitions. The risks were high, and the stakes were even higher. As Jack and Diane waited to see how things would unfold, they couldn't shake the feeling that they were caught in a game they didn't fully understand, a game where betrayal, loyalty, and power played out in ways they couldn't predict. Would Billy prove his loyalty to the Abbotts, or would Kane's pull be too strong for him to resist? Only time would tell, and every decision they made now would be a step toward either salvation or destruction. This expanded narrative delves deep into the emotional conflicts, strategic decisions, and high stakes surrounding Billy, Kane, Jack, and Diane. The complexity of loyalty, family, and ambition is laid out as the characters move forward with their plans. Let me know if you'd like any further developments or twists.